Okay, hey guys, Paul Kelp, STEM plus C, the guy organizing the event at Spaceport next year. So, where to start here? Right now, we're on the calendar for June 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, tentatively, I guess I should say, at Spaceport. Negotiating a little bit with Spaceport to develop this event next summer. Where we sit right now is Spaceport's having a hard time making those dates work for us. And the reason why is the following week they have Spaceport America's Cup, which draws like 1,500 people for them. And it is a Spaceport hosted event. So they host it, they run it, the whole 9 yards. It's not put on by an outside group. So with that said, they're having a hard time making the June 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th work for us. I've been working with them, and they're happy if we do like the weekend, the 8th and 9th. So it'd be a smaller event. It wouldn't be the Disney World type event of RC airplane flying, RC get together type event that I was envisioning. But it would be at least our 6 teams and Kevin Garland with the iMac operating at least Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or at least, I guess I should say, at least Saturday, Sunday, and possibly Friday. I know we don't necessarily have a need to be there Friday, maybe do some test flights. But Kevin with iMac was interested in doing some of their setup and have a setup day and a flight day before they get into their competition stuff on the weekend. So with that said, Spaceport is absolutely perfect for doing these high altitude projects. We did our project there 2 years ago. The facility has everything we need: power, bathrooms, they have and food, concessions, the whole 9 yards. So absolutely perfect in that regard. Just this weekend of September 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th is not working very well for them. So with that being said, I think the dates are going to change. I've got Bill Gutman, who is the director of operations at Spaceport. They have access to all the historical weather data, and he is going to give us a couple of dates, well, several dates that would work based on his findings of what would be ideal weather conditions, and what would make up those ideal weather conditions would be, moderate temperatures, nothing too hot, nothing too cold, low chance of precip or monsoon type activities, light and variable local winds or surface winds, along with upper level winds that are cooperative for what we're trying to achieve here. So we are at the mercy of weather, obviously. This isn't how we normally do these kind of projects. Normally we give ourselves a window of opportunity, so like maybe a month. And then we let the weather dictate the day that we do these projects. We don't necessarily put them on a calendar. But this is a different type of thing where we have to put this on a calendar. So with that being said, I'm thinking about punting this to possibly September or the very beginning of October at the latest for next year. We'll make this happen, guys. Don't get me wrong. We're going to make this happen. Just a matter of the dates. And I think I'm going to scale this thing back so that it's just our 6 teams and potentially iMac. FPVWRA has said that they're interested and would like to join us. Multi-GP has also said that they're interested and want to join us. So we'll see as this matures out how this, whether it's just a 2-day event for our group, 6 groups, or if it's going to be a 3-day event type thing. I think the big Disneyland or Disney World idea that I had for this probably won't play out next year. Maybe we can make that happen though in the subsequent years. The other thing I want to mention, I think so far these 6 teams, we got some really good teams, really good 6 teams going into this. A lot of brain power, a lot of good guys, and I think nothing but good things are going to come out of this in the future. With that being said, my whole idea here behind the Spaceport stuff is to give us amateurs the ability to do some really, really cool things. And where I would eventually like to go with this is to put something into space on a shoestring budget, to put something in a low Earth orbit on a shoestring budget. The Sputnik of amateur. I don't think that's out of realm of what we could do. But anyway, that's where I envision us going with this here in the future. Several projects down the road. But it'll be fun getting there, and it'll be fun getting there as a group of 6 teams too. That being said, some other things I got to cover. Video signal. So we only have our 2 channels available on 1.3, 1258 and 1280, whatever it is. Each team can utilize both channels. We've utilized both channels in high altitude projects before. You don't get any bleed over, you don't get any interference. They work just fine. And some teams have been asking about using linear antennas. Absolutely fine. Just make sure you guys test this stuff before you go out and strap it onto an airplane that you're going to send to 100,000 feet. You can test it out your backyard. Just get a weather balloon from Party City or someplace, a bigger party balloon. And we've done this before. I linked a video in one of the groups where we did some tests before, where we needed to test a vector. So we took a camera, a vector, and a transmitter and sent it aloft, and gives you a good chance to use your system and test everything. So feel free to do testing. If you're under 4.4 pounds, the FAA doesn't even care if you're sending something less. I think 4.4 pounds. If you're sending that up, they don't even care. So we built ours in the past to not be recoverable, but somehow they managed to always find their way back home. We had a person find one of our projects out in the desert and returned it to us. So anyway, feel free to do that and test your systems before you go throwing it on an airplane that's going up to 100,000 feet and potentially 60 miles down range. You want to make sure that it's pretty bulletproof. We've always used the Gatling antenna and the Pepper box and some directional antennas, the Mad Mushroom for local reception. And anyway, what was I saying? So make sure you get out there and test your video systems before you go strapping them on an airplane that's going to go up to 100,000 feet and 60 miles downrange. The next thing, talk about 501c3, my company, STEM Plus C. I'm getting ready to shell out about $10,000 to my lawyer to make STEM Plus C a 501c3 not-for-profit company. I'm doing this partly to support our projects, especially our 6 teams, our projects here. If I go 501c3, that gives us the ability to raise some grant money for these projects. Instead of just doing sponsorships. Sponsorships is a company says, hey, we like what you're doing. Here's $1,000 to put our name on your airplane or on your t-shirt. So that's sponsorship. The grants work a little bit differently. The grants, obviously, a company can issue a grant, but then they also get a tax credit for that. So it kind of gives them a little bit more incentive, or they have an incentive to give out grant money, whereas a company doesn't necessarily have an incentive to sponsor. So anyway, by doing this 501c3, it will give all our teams the ability to access grant money. We'll do it under the umbrella of STEM Plus C, but then I will distribute that money to the teams as applicable. The one caveat though of the 501c3 is if you do get any grant money on your team, you're going to have to do some student-led activities. You're going to have to do some workshop, or somehow I'm going to have to bring in some kind of STEM type relationship with your team and students. My 2 teams happen to have a bunch of students on them, and I know a couple of the other teams have students on them. But I also know there's a couple of teams that are made up of professionals, which is excellent, because I think just in the event itself, you guys will be able to talk with the kids and really share a lot of your experiences in what it's like to work where you work and what you do for your company, and maybe get in some theory stuff on some of the things that you guys do. So anyway, that's all I got. So dates for Spaceport are probably going to change. And I told you all about the 501c3 thing with the grant money. So that's all I got. If you guys have any questions, keep the questions coming through the group. I'll also make accessible in the groups my workbook. My workbook has information in there on how to use a helium balloon, how to use the prediction software, how to calculate how much helium you need, all that kind of stuff. It's all in the workbook. It's geared towards students, but it's going to work for you guys. I'll make that available in the groups. I'll make the program letter and the safety checklist available as well. I know that I mentioned some of the teams wish to use a different airframe, which is fine. You're just going to have to reference page 5, section 2, aircraft segment is the title of the chapter. Look through there, and those are the things that we're going to need to supply for your aircraft. So if you're going to use a DRAC or an Optera or something different, there's a host of information that we're going to have to put in there, but don't worry, don't let it scare you. It's not that hard. We'll compile it and get it in there in the way that the FAA wants. So I think I covered everything. If you guys have any questions, again, hit me up with the groups. I'll try to do a video maybe once a week just to give you guys a little recap on something or something that seems to be a hot topic. I like to communicate this way. That's a little better than email. It's a little bit more personal. I get to put some expression into it. So anyway, with that being said, we will talk to you guys next week, and keep the questions coming.